Okay. There we are. All right. I'm going to remove a piece of this. There. We'll just do that for now. Um Everybody hear me all right? Let me adjust this microphone up. Come on. Okay. That tune was that it just played was called Paint Horse. I can't remember who named it. It was one of my kids or my nieces or nephews. And that was recorded in 2017 in Jackson in Travis's garage. Hey everybody. I turned my head for a second. There was one person here, and then all of a sudden chat. Today, we're going to do a bit of this self-analysis stuff. I have a lot of videos that I backed up from YouTube dating before 2015 all the way up till, well, I guess 2022, but there's not much between 2019 and 2022. Xenu, Juliana, Angela, Jane, Chad, Nature, Willie Weed. Oh, Willie Weed. Well, yes, he will. Willie will weed. Let's weed, Willie. I'm a silly bitch. I guess it's probably like, the elephant in the room as to, what happened Friday. No broadcast. So, without without defaming my friend, which I won't do. I love Doug very much. And I wish nothing but the best for him. But everyone has their boundaries. I failed to set boundaries, and something happened, and let's just say I got kind of triggered, really bad, and this video that I'm going to go over here will probably give some insight. I don't like being called a piece of shit. I was called that a lot growing up. So, and that's the least of things that was said. So, this is not. I'm not saying that that I never want to see or deal with Doug again. I love him. It's important for me. It's actually taken me quite a bit to fucking think about what I'm saying, and I'm just going off the cuff. So, I love Doug. I care about him very much. But I had to draw some very hard boundaries to do. And my therapist told me to do it earlier, a week earlier, and I didn't. Because I was gonna be taking a couple of weeks off anyway. So I was like, well, we'll just get through it. And then, things happened. So, and it's not important what they are, but that's what it was. I had to draw some very hard boundaries, like serious boundaries, and I hope nothing but the best. Words are hard. Yeah. God, so many hands and hearts and stuff. I love it. Puff puff pass. Yeah. So uh what I've got here. There we go. Let's do that. Wow, 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 wow. Get you properly hypnotized. Let's kick it off like this. Okay. We'll do that. No, we'll do this and then this. Ta-da. Oh boy, this one's gonna be interesting. So I did a video in 2017. Uh, and there were three. I did it all in one session. We're not going to go through all of that in one stream, so I'll probably break it up into three. But the videos were called simply Cowboy, with no description, and uh, yeah, my hair is kind of crazy. So this was during a time where I was sort of. This was after my interview with Aaron, and I was kind of vagrant. You know, I don't say I was homeless yet because that's my old trailer, but I was well on my way. Um, and also still had cancer and was trying to get doctors to take that seriously. And because there was a tremendous amount of pain that I was in. Um, and I was peeling these layers of Scientology off in sort of real time, which probably looking back after, and I was in therapy at this time too, um, just not as regular as it is now. Um, so yeah, peeling all of these layers off and then getting back before Scientology, because for me and for many others, people who get into these extremist groups, extreme cultures, it does seem to be a predisposing condition to have some trauma already, um, and come from a background that was not really all that stable. Is everyone tracking? Uh, Making sure I'm tracking. I mean, more coffee. I want to do the Lulu bark again. It took us a while to get that sound bite because she uh, doesn't always do that, and she sure doesn't do that anymore, really. She's old. She's very very old. Uh, the and yeah, like I give her a hard time, and she drives me nuts. But I I do love the dog. It's just the circumstances under which we met were crazy. Yeah, 17-year-old dog. That's very old for a dog. In dog years, that's 70, 40, 150, almost 150 years old this dog is. So, that's uh that's quite a long time to live. What I'm saying is, you guys, um, we're all gonna, at some point, be gone. No, I don't have that dog. That's not my dog. It's Cynthia's dog. All right. So I hope that sort of addressed some initial things. Um, and, that's probably about all I feel comfortable sharing at the moment. Like I said, I don't have any uh, admonition or uh, any kind of uh, ill will towards not only Doug, but anybody who is throwing what I call throwing, or yeah, slings and arrows at the right target. So, I really like, even if I disagree wholeheartedly on some issues with somebody, uh, on anything as to how they're presenting themselves, how they're communicating, if it's like catching the algorithm, which is based on hate and fear, like even if they're doing that, but they are throwing the slings and arrows in the right direction, which is, the Church of Scientology or any kind of extremist group that exists here in America or abroad that is trafficking people and hurting people and trafficking children and abusing children. Um, I consider myself on the same team. Like I watched one of the Never End streams, and Juliana has has made this mark on everybody in that group. They were like, "Well, Juliana would say we're all in this together," and I agree. So, um, get the fuck back in the hole. Sorry, Commodore. We're rolling with this shit. So I gotta let you guys know ahead of time that what I'm speaking about in this video is very disturbing. Okay, if you've had family trauma, um, you might want to get some tissues. You might want to go into a different room if you got kids in there. It's not for kids. It should, I wouldn't recommend watching this in front of young children. Um, Mainly because it's just, the reality of the world sometimes is just like sometimes kids don't need to know that. Like, let them be children. And so I wanted to give that disclaimer ahead of time before you hear some of the. In the description, I had Chat GPT write it for me. I do most. I just it's easier that way for the descriptions. So I'm sure a lot of you have, because it's very common. A lot of you probably have experienced some of the things I'm going to talk about, but I still want to give a sort of a disclaimer that if you have small children or you're in a public space where it might trigger someone else or whatever, just make those adjustments. And I'm going to scroll a little bit and look at the comments here because there's all kinds of people here. There's 25 people in my room, but they're there. They're not. They are. They're so interesting. This whole streaming, connected with the world all the time. So Glitter, I'm glad you're here. Trying to catch anyone that I missed. Mind My Blues. I'm glad you. Oh, Lisa. Lisa's here. Okay. Take a hit for me. I've been weaning off of it. Okay. I will surely do that. And just so y'all know, there's a user and channel named Yela. I never can pronounce this right. Yelna Hazel, who has been here from the start. This is for you, Lisa. Yay, hello, Russell. However you say that. That user has been around a long time, since the very beginning, and saw a lot of the crazy stuff that was going on, the OSA stuff, whenever I first started posting, OSA people posting. A lot of those comments got auto-moderated, or they removed it, or I moderated and or removed it. Okay. Scrolling through here, trying to catch up. Right. Witness. I'm glad that you're here. Lydia Von Stretch Clan. Afternoon, all. Yeah. Afternoon to you too. It is afternoon here. It's about, I'm doing pretty good. It's 11 minutes past noon here in New Orleans. Shanna, hey, how you doing? Good to see you here. All right, looks like I'm all caught up. So, all right, Yayla Russel's seen this before, so this ain't gonna be no surprise to her. But you know, one of the other videos, she's like, "Oh, it's so nostalgic to see the porch." When I did the video about the girl next door. We got Cynthia and a Lulu. Let me do the dog bark thing. The howl. This is Lulu's howl. That is so hard to get her to do. I'm going to do it again. It's so hard to get her to do. We had to coax her into it. There we go. Okay. What'd you say? Oh, it's all right. Huh?
I just want to get Lulu.
Oh, I must have spam clicked it because it keeps doing the. Oh. It keeps doing the Lulu howl. All right.
I like the Lulu howl.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I spammed it. Okay. Here we go. L. Ron Hubbard, are you and Doug good? I think so, but I mean, like I said, I had to put up a hard boundary. Okay, that means that I can't, until Doug can get some help. I don't want to go into what that is, but I love him. If you watch my video, Hubbard, the blood of the covenant, that might indicate to you, sir, Commodore, and it is relevant. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. You need to word clear covenant if you haven't done so. Actually, I would recommend, Hubbard, that you go ahead and M1 that. Here's some... Wow. Go M1 covenant. What it means is, I did a whole video on it, but what it means is an agreement that people have as to how you treat each other, say socially, personally, friendship, family, whatever. That agreement is more important than the fact that you are merely blood related. Meaning, if someone who is blood related to you that is abusing you, that does not make that okay. Unfortunately, that phrase, blood is thicker than water, has been reversed or mutated into, well, they've abused me, but they're my family. No. That's not how that works. You may have friends that are better qualified to be your family. That's basically what it means. Blood of the covenant. People who are abusing you, do not tolerate it. Okay, well, So Hubbard's never missed a video. I don't doubt that. I really don't. That's another old timer here on the channel. I had sent him to the hole because I thought he was an OSA person years ago. Um, it actually wasn't until we did the streams with Doug and I saw him on there that I was like, "Oh, this guy's all right." All right, so yeah, I'm not going any further than that really uh, right now. So the disclaimer: this is about my stepfather. This is about me commenting earlier on in some of my videos on YouTube. I did many where I say uh, my history with Scientology is not the most disturbing thing in my history, and this is the beginning of me finally having the. I was so scared, just like I was when I did the first Scientology video when I did this, because I'm publicly talking about some of the things that some private individuals in my life either suspected or knew about, but didn't know what to do about it. Um, I'm probably going to stop the video and talk about, you know, narcissism. Everyone has it. There is a big difference between uh, like a malignant narcissist. They're very difficult to get a diagnosis on. It's 1 in 200 people in the United States. And that's just one of 200 people that can get diagnosed. So there's lots of factors to consider there. Everyone is a narcissist. If you have a personal interest, guess what? Congratulations. You're a narcissist. Uh, there. I said it. We're all narcissists to one degree or another. And the difference between having narcissism and being a narcissist, as most people say, oh, they're a narcissist, is that they're almost like pedophiles. They're very difficult to catch. You never can suspect who they are. Yeah, Angela, babies are narcissists. And who would suspect a baby as being a narcissist? They're complete 100% narcissists. All they care about is what their needs are. But when you become an adult, and you know, depending on your upbringing, how you reared, however you want to say it, your experiences, your family, whatever, um, there are people with multiple pathologies, and usually narcissists have multiple pathologies. That's why it's so hard to get a diagnosis. They can go undetected for their entire life. The cowboy is my stepfather, to answer L. Ron Hubbard. All right. So, all the disclaimer, all that in place. I'm not saying that using the word narcissist is a bad thing. It's just similar to like saying cult all the time. There's a thing that's sticky about it. Similar to like blood is thicker than water, where like yes, use the word. Understand though what it is implying, because everyone is a narcissist to one degree or another. You know, I want to go have coffee at La Boulangerie. Um, uh, so I'm, that's a personal want, need, whatever. It's not a need, it's a want. And that's what I want. So um, that is an infinitesimally small degree of narcissism. But it depends on how much you are. Like if you want, I want, and it gets to the point where I need you to do this. I need you to. It's a sort of a scale or a spectrum, intensity spectrum, And I'll just say that, a lot of narcissists a lot of true malignant narcissists do not get properly diagnosed because they could never get into a position in therapy in session to where they couldn't be in control. That's my opinion, but you know, um, I share that opinion with some other people who are way more qualified than me to have an opinion on the subject. Lydia von Stretchclaw. It feels like a word that's overused. Yes. I also feel like, and I'm not being a stickler about all of this. Uh, I don't make a big deal out of it. It's language. We use it to communicate. Um, I also think that cult is a. I think that Mark Turi really won me over whenever. And I say won me over, not like he had to win me over, but when I saw, I'd never known Mark Turi. I watched one of his interviews with Doug, and he stressed the importance of saying culture, and I was like already on that page, and I was like, whoa, somebody else is like right there tracking with me. It's cultures, my family culture that is going to be discussed in this video, uh, the culture of Scientology, culture of independent or whatever you want to call them, sects of extreme religions that practice coercive control and corporal punishment to a point of abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. Um, that's a culture, you know. That's something that, like, whenever I started to really think, like, that is a culture. Well, that's no good if that's a culture, because culture. I've come from Louisiana, where it's a multicultural community all around the state, and we enjoy and the things about our culture are a majority of them really amazing, and the blending of cultures is what's so amazing. The food that we get here. So when I think of Scientology as a culture instead of a cult, it gives me sort of a better idea, or a better, uh, a more firm rooted purpose to expose that culture, and not just like whenever you're trying to get someone out of a cult. um, you don't say, hey, you're in a cult, because it's triggering. It's to them, it's just like an immediate back off, an immediate disconnect, or an immediate, like, misunderstanding. um, and you're pushing them sort of further in. In the same way, talking about culture, um, instead of saying cult, I'm talking on terms of small percentages here. Like, small percentages of people who are Scientologists um, can be exposed to content that is anti Scientology. And it may be during a moment of uh, auditing for them, or a period where they're out ethics and they have to do conditions and they're starting to question, what am I into? And they might take that chance to go on YouTube and search something that provides an alternative viewpoint. And if you have that opportunity, which I feel everyone that's throwing the slings and arrows uh, at the church has that opportunity and a platform, then speaking about it as a culture and discussing it as a culture, it is glaringly obvious when you speak about it in, I guess you would say, respectful terms, instead of like, because you want the message to reach someone there, uh, especially in Scientology, because like word clearing is such a big deal. and understanding the definition of a word. Um, like if you use the word cult, they will associate that with outside of Scientology. Speak in other words, uh, the dirty word that no one wants me to use in the UK, but everywhere else they're like, yeah, whatever. I never heard the word before. So that word, it immediately disconnects them, and they'd be like, okay, well, this isn't a good source. And there's still a chance that that would happen anyway, even if you use the word culture. And I'm going on and rambling about the word culture, but that was all a comment from, uh, oh goodness, yeah, Lydia von Stretchclaw about feeling the word is overused. There are other words like that. Um, like, I don't know, I just don't feel comfortable without knowing the true, without knowing almost intimately a person, because there's really, once you know one and you meet one, that's not to say that you can just call them out, because there's a scale of narcissism. So try not to call people out as narcissists, uh, you know, just because it's like becomes such an overused word. There's a lot of really great YouTubers that do content on narcissism and how to spot it, and I think that's amazing because that was part of how I learned to spot this stuff. Um, but in the process, it has just become, oh, my boyfriend broke up with me. He's such a narcissist. You know what I mean? Like Facebook stuff. And it seems to me a little too damn convenient. All right. Um, I'll look for another comment, but because y'all are just like blowing up here. Um, Yellow Hazel, before it gets too serious, I just want to say those are some legendary sunglasses. Too bad I don't have them anymore. Um, all right. Still smoking cherry pie moon rocks. I got the Georgia pie right now, Willy Weed. Um, Concentrates. Oh, I can't do that. Mm-mm. No. See, I smoke very, very little, even though I'm stoned all the time, seems like. I do it mostly for pain relief um, and PTSD, I guess. That's what it's prescribed for, CPTSD. Um, yes, glitter, um, excuse me, glitter flutterby. When you want things at the expense of others, then it's a problem. And that's a common thing with actual narcissistic behavior, like NPD behavior, narcissistic personality disorder behavior. Um, the DSM-5 covers, like, if you have 5 out of however many traits, then you are considered to be evaluated for NPD. And one of those things is like taking on multiple types of debt, emotional debt, financial debt, and this starts very early with people. A lot of times, like the abuser will uh, will do something for the person in order to incur some kind of life debt. Usually, I call it life debt. It's like you're indebted to them for your freaking life, and you must be thankful and always comply and do what they say. It is a problem. It's a major problem, and just like in Scientology, it can happen to anybody. Um, what is my view on Hubbard? What is my view on Steve Mango and his claim about being conned out of 7,500? Okay, I'll take that up. Um, my view is that I don't really know. I watched the videos that he published, the 5 videos that Doug had told me to watch. I had watched them when they came out. And around that same time, thereabouts, there was some kind of other channel that Stephen Mango had done some appearances on that was sort of, from my understanding, and I didn't watch these, so you know, you asked, I can't tell you what I don't know, but from what I heard, it was like a, a reality TV thing. Is the best I could describe it, where it was fake, but they were acting like it was real, and so that was used to discredit his claim about being audited. So I don't know if he was audited. I watched the videos. There's been multiple times where there's another person who comes to mind who no one probably remembers, but Helena Ulentz, uh, who has unpublished and unlisted all of her videos about her Scientology story, and now calls it her nanobot story, and says that she was practicing acting, um, and practicing her writing and stuff like that. Uh, from her story, it doesn't sound like that. And when it happened, it was one of those moments in the community, early moments in the community, where people were paying attention to what this girl had to say to figure out what the hell's going on, because she was allegedly being fair gamed at that time, making videos at that time she was being fair gamed. So, that tracks. Like, if you're being fair gamed, uh, yeah, get as much evidence and talk about it as it's happening. I probably would do the same thing. I think I have, but I'm not 100% sure. Um, I don't really have any, like I said before, as long as the slings and arrows are pointed at the church, we're good. I don't know Stephen that well. Um, I never encountered him, that to my knowledge, and when I was in L.A., and so I don't know. I do know that L.A., if you're in L.A. and you're talking about Scientology like we do here on these broadcasts, that it's a hell of a lot easier for them to harass you. Um, I have heard of auditing and have been offered auditing after I left, like, shortly after I left, to do, quote, corrections in the indie zone or in the non indie zone, which is a whole thing. Um, Pierre Etier did a lot of, I wouldn't call it auditing because it wasn't auditing, but we just talked a lot and he explained the whole bridge to me. He's another class 12 auditor who blew in the 80s, which means left. Blowing means leaving. Apostate Alex, if he was in here, he'd make a joke about blowing. Um, the him and Vanessa were coming up with all kinds of Scientology sexual innuendo language. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I can't say definitively, and I won't because I don't have the information and I don't know Steve well enough. But, you know, presenting the information is important on all sides because all the slings and arrows are going. That's about as much of an answer as I could come up with right now. Um, Yes, yes, yes. Okay, looks like I'm almost caught up. At some point, I am going to have to start the damn video. But I'm enjoying chatting with y'all. Um, it's bringing me happiness. This last week has been, it's I feel like I lost a friend. Um, and I also felt really like like I said, it was triggering to hear some of the things that, people in my life have told me. They were very, very ugly again. One of the things, if someone calls me a piece of shit, um, for whatever reason, just that, like peace. It's like some people, like some women I know, like if you call them a bitch, like in no way, shape, or form do they want to be called a bitch. Some women are like, cool with being called a bitch, like, yeah, my bitch or whatever. But um, if someone like looks at me and says you're a piece of shit, and is like, says it with that sort of inflection and tone, uh, I internalize on that. I shouldn't. I should react right back and be like, no, I'm not. But there's reasons that I'm still uncovering. Why the fuck do I feel when someone says you're a piece of shit? I immediately internalize it, and it starts this whole fucking like mental cycle with me. So and it's depressing and sad, and I feel like I've been knocked down, I guess is the best way to put it, and then I have to get back up. Um, no, Shanna, it's not easy. It really isn't. It's not easy to get up in front of everyone here, even though y'all are so supportive. Um, it's not like I kind of had to just sort of jump off the diving board. I mean, I wasn't going to do anything until I talked to my therapist this week, and we talked about the current events, and she was like, you should keep doing your self analysis thing. Is just only do it when you're ready. And I took, what is it? Friday? It's not Friday. It's Sunday. So from Wednesday to Sunday, I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, what am I even going to cover? So, witness, you know, anger is useful in the way that, like, like Jesus went into the market and started throwing shit. Like, you're charging you're charging for God trinkets, like, and whatever. Probably know the story, but um, you know, righteous, indignant anger, very useful. Uh, and anger is a valid. Any emotion you feel is valid. Any emotion you feel is valid. Um, However, getting stuck in emotions and not moving past them, like that's why you need to feel them, I think. From my understanding, I'm still learning all of this, but you need to feel the emotions so that you get past them. Um, so feel the anger, I suppose, and just don't let it consume you. Feel it. Really get it. Really get mad. Then, if you're mad, get mad. Um, it's totally okay to feel all of those emotions. Um, you're a great guy, Marcus from Willie Weed. Well, thanks, dude. I think you're pretty cool too. I like smoking the weeds with you. Um, Shanna, I'm so glad he has you. That's huge. I don't know you, but I get it. I was alone for a decade, even though I was married for some of that before I found my person. It's beautiful. Um, I am so glad I have her too. Because I'd probably still be in a 4x6 sunroom, or maybe not even that. Um, it's a little hard to imagine how much this, you know, she's like a goddess to me. That's all I can say. Hey Tish, welcome. Um, Glitter, I struggle to let myself feel things. I do too. I do too. Regardless of what I said just now about feel those things, for some of us, we may have no problem at all feeling certain emotions, and then others, we may have like it might take me, for example, a week or two, and that's an improvement these days to get through some feelings of grief. Um, but you know, grief is lifelong. So another one would be like say anger, like um, or anxiousness, overwhelming, anxiety. Um, some people can deal with them faster or get through them faster. I have a problem with depression, and uh, and my diagnosis from the psychiatrist is, and I'll disclose this. This doesn't bother me. Major depressive disorder, um, hallucination, perception, persisting disorder, and CPTSD, dating back to 1986. So I have a harder time. It takes me longer to get through the emotions because I'm constantly blocking them. So maybe I don't know if that's something that you're struggling with, but blocking is definitely a thing, and you can work through it. It's just allowing yourself to not block it at times, and then it'll sort of kind of like air pressure slowly bleed off, and then eventually there'll be enough to sort of let it all go. Um, all right. Okay, let's do this. Should have invited Brenda. Brenda, well, I can still do that. Um, let's see here. Brenda, she's my old moderator from back in the day. She's probably playing Words with Friends. That's probably what she's doing. She's Words with Friends or doom scrolling through TikTok. Um, Let me message her real quick, see if she wants to come have a wrench. Okay, I sent her the message, and now I'll send her the link, and then we'll start with the self analyses. And here's a Lulu bark. Let's see. I'm just reviewing comments again. Playing Yahtzee, huh? Yahtzee. That is just a fun word to say. Yahtzee. Tish. That's the shortened version for this is really happening. It's another old schooler here. I'm very happy you have each other. Um, Thank you, Tish. Um, you know the story quite well, so you know how amazing it is. Sandy Yerkins Powers, welcome. Uh, Anger masks hurt. Whenever angry, I ask, why so angry? And the answer is always, that remark hurt my feelings. Then I cry. You know, that is a good way to do it. But I have a sneaking suspicion that Glitter Flutterby and myself don't always have that sort of logical reasoning when I get angry or when she gets angry or whatever the emotion is. There are certain emotions that are heavily blocked, um, mostly because there was reasons to block and hide your emotions in an environment. Um, for me, I don't know about for Glitter. Let's see. Wishing you the best. My Corp of Discovery Y2K. Wishing you the best. Marcus, hope you can take some time and enjoy the day. Take care of yourself. You know, I actually feel like this is part of taking care of myself. Um, and I'm feeling very positive right now, having these conversations and chatting with everybody. Um, and I feel like we're, even before we've gotten to the video, we've discussed some really cool things. And I'm thinking so much, I left it out. Okay, Angela Clark, I can take in so much. I want to let it out in a constructive way. Whew! That's the number one thing my therapist is always concerned about. And I don't know if you're in therapy, Angela, but isn't it funny how, and I identify with that so much, um, because I can do the same. I can take a whole lot of shit, and it's only natural, I think, for my therapist who's like, when's this bubble gonna burst? When are you gonna go psycho? Um, you know, Usually I just break down for a couple days, almost like a car that just doesn't want to start, and and then out of nowhere for no reason, like you turn the key and it's like, oh, it's fine now. So I relate. Um, Nicorasu, yes, you have been here. Welcome, friend. I love you, buddy. Um, let's not be so strangers, huh? Let's see. Femmort, is that the pupper's name? Adorable. I could sit here and do this all damn day. Let's go ahead and get started. Um, Golly gee. Okay. Heartbreak Hotel here. I'll try to cheer it up with some music at the end. We'll see if that works. What's up, guys? Can y'all hear that okay? This video probably going to be... Was that too low, or do I need to bring it up? Standing by. All right, thanks, Chad. I've been sitting in front of the camera for about 30 minutes, trying to think of how I'm going to do this, talk about this. It's about the same magnitude as whenever I did my video about Scientology the first time. It's difficult to talk about because I'm very afraid that my family, that this will be it. Like, I mean, I'll talk about this and then similar to how Scientology, once you speak about it, it's over, you know. And this video is pretty personal, family stuff, but I have to talk about it because, and I'm ready to. A while back I posted a video, and Orsi, one of the subscribers, said don't talk about anything until you're ready to. That's good advice. So I'm ready to. Person in my life, his nickname is Cowboy. He was given that nickname by my great aunt because he wanted to be a cowboy. It's my stepfather. Um, and I didn't know he was not my father until much later, but um, a couple. Thank you, Nick. All right, yeah, I just stopped the stream earlier to say Cowboy's my stepfather, just to clarify that, which I did in the video. I was just saying it still feels a little low from my mix, but if y'all are good and y'all can hear it, then we're good. Months ago, whenever I hit the road, Jack, it was because I was just done with the with the dysfunctional nature of our relationship, and a lot of the family doesn't know the specifics. Maybe I thought they knew. Maybe they know some. And Holly, if you're watching, I just want you to know that I'm not doing this to bring any shame on the family or anything like that. I love you very much. When I left home, when I was a kid, as a teenager, Holly wasn't much older, but her and her husband, Richard, they let me stay with them for a short time. I just need to leave the damn microphone on. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm so sorry. All right. Cynthia came in and told me your microphone is muted again. I'm just going to leave it on, okay? Because that's going to continue to be a problem. All right. Damn it. Don't even remember what I was saying. I said thank you for whoever donated to the coffee thing. Let's see if I can get back on track here. I didn't have anywhere else to go. Right. Okay. So I'm going to jump around a lot telling the story because it's practically impossible to tell my brother and I's story and just how in my life, how when I say Scientology wasn't the worst thing that ever happened, I'm not saying it wasn't fucking terrible. But what led me there, as I was speaking in the beginning of the stream, so people with histories, like I've never denied that, but some people say, well, only if you've had a bad history. Usually people are susceptible when they've been abused, and so like people that end up in cults are, damaged goods, and they're ripe for the picking. That's true. It's also true that can happen to anybody, just like this sort of domestic abuse that may be triggering to people can happen to anybody. So, jumping around in the story, I'm talking about my cousin that sold me the Dianetics book at Walden Books, and and I was emancipated the day I turned 16, January 21st, 1997. I didn't have anywhere to go. I was bouncing around from couch to couch. Had a job and was also selling pot, and and her and her husband let me stay with them. And so acknowledging them in this video was really important to me because, as I said, I was saying things about the family that might, it's kind of like Scientology. Alex and I last night had a conversation about this. Once he did that first video, he felt like he was shutting the door of ever going back to Scientology, and that was a very freeing feeling for him. Because even if he wanted to go back, he can't. And it felt good to close that door and to close that chapter of his life. So, on we go. So they let me stay, and I'll never forget, and I can never repay you for that. And I love you. I gotta stop and introduce Brenda. And thank you for coming, Brenda. These are our friends, and Brenda will. She's a chill as hell moderator. She's been my moderator since 2017. I don't want to embarrass her, but I'm also not gonna not say this. Brenda flew down to New Orleans in 2017 while I was homeless and going through opiate withdrawal. To just a footnote on that, I had been on opiates for 7 years. Doctors kept giving me opiates for the pain that I was having, and it was masking the pain. And ultimately, I was missing signs of prostate cancer. So it was like in 2017. I was like, I gotta get this shit. I need to feel the pain so that I can tell the doctors, look, I'm in pain, and this is where. So I was going through those withdrawals, and we drove to Clearwater, Florida, for the wrap party of the aftermath. And I got to meet Mike Render. I had Mike call my brother and ask him for a Happy Meal, which is a whole other side story. But that's the footnote. Brenda is a close friend of mine, and when I moved to Sacramento, she was living a little further south, and we visited her and her partner at the time there. And she's my moderator, and I love her very much. And nice, lovely welcome. Oh, also, she drove down Bourbon Street while I was in the hotel. She was like, I want to see New Orleans. I'm like, I don't blame you. Go ahead, go for it. And I'm like not thinking. I'm just like freezing in my bed, going through opiate withdrawals, and in a hotel room that she paid for, and she got a vehicle, and she just drove straight down Bourbon Street. Now, like, if you're not from New Orleans, that's like, I can't think of any worse street that I've ever, in any city that I've ever toured in when I was younger. Like, been in some really tight spaces, like up in Ohio, Cincinnati really brings back horrible memories. But like, I can't think of any worse city to drive down. It took her something like 2 hours just to drive down Bourbon Street. Oh man. All right. And she's seen this video a million years ago or whatever. So here we go. And Mom told me you watch the videos, so I just wanted to tell you that you and Richard
even though it was a long time ago.
So it's my cousin and her husband who took, a relatively significant risk in letting a minor who was emancipated, even though I was emancipated, it's still, a 16-year-old living with 20-year-olds, and I'm selling drugs, you know. Um, they didn't have to take that risk. Ultimately, I did have to leave because I smoked weed in the house, and they were like, "Look, it was fine until you did that, but we can't take that risk." I mean, back then, 97, like if I had any more than a quarter of an ounce on me, which I usually did, that's a felony charge. And if I'm dealing, that's distribution, which is there a felony. So, you know, they went above and beyond helping. So I'm just sort of thanking them in this video.
You guys helped me. I know I was fucked up. And maybe you didn't quite get it, but Holly and Richard, there is no way that I can express my gratitude. And if you at all feel guilty for selling me that Dianetics book, please don't.
And I wanted to say that Mom had told me that she was watching the videos, so I wanted to, I didn't want her to feel guilty for like, oh my God, I sold him that book and he went and I didn't know. Most of my family, none in Travis's family, they didn't think anything was wrong with Scientology. This was anonymous, pre the Anderson Cooper interview. People in the media were still afraid to talk about Scientology because bad things happened to people who did. And so most of our family just thought, okay, well, they're in that religion that all the Hollywood movie stars are in, and they're off drugs. So I thank you, Lydia Von Stretchclaw. This is a lovely video. I'm glad I'm doing a halfway decent job. Yeah, I wanted to thank my cousin and her husband, in this video. Obviously, I keep saying that. But, because this was, obviously you can see I'm starting to cry. Like, this was a subject that I had been in my mind for years. The reason I got emancipated was because teachers were reporting signs of visible physical abuse, and we had sheriffs come to the house, and they, "Oh, are you being abused?" Well, is there any woman here in chat who's been abused and had a cop come to their house and ask them, "Have they been being abused?" I'm curious. Is there any woman in here who has been abused, who's had the cops come to their house and ask them in front of their abuser if they've been abused? No, if you don't want to say, that's fine. How about this? What would you say? Oh, Shanna, yeah. What would you say to the cop that's asking? Round of applause, everyone. Everyone knows the answer to this. In front of their abuser. Are you going to say, what are you going to say? Are you going to say, you're going to say yes? Really? Wow. Okay, because in my mind, there, I was so fucking afraid of what would happen to me if I said yes. Because, yeah, if I said yes, boy, they'd put the cuffs on him, they'd get him into questioning, there would be all kind of stuff. But what happens after that? Yes, witness, he also, knew the cops. The whole family was connected to the District 14 District Attorney's office. Um, he was in a fraternity, multiple fraternities. He did a lot of favors for people after he got out of the fraternity and graduated. He had he's very, well, yeah, he was very, very well connected. No, you can't say yes. No, exactly. You cannot say yes. So, uh, however, my high school counselor, unbeknownst to me, had started filing papers so that on my, as a birthday present, and this is going to make me fucking, whew, okay. As a birthday present, my high school counselor called me in like I was in trouble. I mean, it always sounds like you're in trouble when they call you over the speakers. Miss Lockhart, my counselor, called me into her office and said, this is the best I could do for a birthday present. You would need your mother to sign this document. I've already got it all prepared. The judges have approved it. Social services and all whatever she had to do to get it approved, because it had been reported that I had visible physical stuff, and then they also sent the cops, and I said no. So she was like, I'm gonna take it into my own hands and get this kid out of this environment, because it was, in her mind, it was that bad that I'd be better off as a 16-year-old on my own than staying at home with my stepfather. So
You were trying to help me just like you helped me before. You saw your cousin that you love in a lot of pain, and you just wanted to help. So please don't feel guilty about that.
welcome, Almond. Didn't see you there.
I love you very much. I'm so happy that you and Richard are still together and have such a beautiful family. Okay. So, Cowboy.
I gotta stop here. Shanna, what a phenomenal person Miss Lockhart really was. And also Miss Desermo, the teacher who reported. She would report. She encouraged other teachers to report. They wouldn't report because Ira would have meetings with them and basically rule. And but Miss Desermo never stopped reporting, and because I was cutting and stuff too. And Miss Lockhart saw. So yeah, I see her sometimes in the grocery stores back home, and I always stop and talk to her and thank her and let her know how much of a, she might have saved my life. She might have saved my life. Because some of the abuse that was going on at that time, leading right up to it, when I was 15, actually, Ira did try to kill me. And the only reason that didn't happen was because my brother Mark was there and threatened and returned the abuse and bullied the bully and threatened to kill him. It was a very fucked up day.
I told you this was going to be harder. And for those of you who watched the first video and needed to play it twice as fast, you might want to do that on this one too. Because this is hard. and I may stumble, and may take some time to get through.
You know, speaking of that, like I prefer to talk slow, and I'm surprised to see that there's 30 people in the chat because I talk slow. Some people on the, I guess as soon as that feature was enabled, the 2 times feature on YouTube, there was a user who was like, hey, if you listen to him 2 times speed, he sounds like Robert Downey Jr., and you can get through that 3.5 hour video in an hour and a half because he talks so damn slow. Oh, Brenda, she got the wrench. Slow down with the slang, please. I do not have to approve or deny each post with cussing. I don't know what slang she's talking about. Maybe she's just being sarcastic. But I trust her. Okay.
Before I was born, my mother had an affair with my biological father, and she got pregnant with my brother Travis. At the time, she was a stay-at-home mom, not single. She was a stay-at-home mom, and she had 2 children with Cowboy. And that pregnancy was a horrific experience for my mother. She was abused physically, sexually, emotionally. And the extent is far beyond what probably most of my family knows. You know, in my family, my mother is, she's well liked and loved, but there's been times when people think she is a little reactive, a little overreactive. What's the word I'm looking for? Embellishes. For dramatic effect, you know. But the truth is that the things that that she said to people over the years that have been held in this sort of like, I can't believe that happened. Maybe it was, you know, there's 2 sides to every story. I mean, even with some of the things that she probably has told people, she hasn't told them everything. And
So I'm speaking about my mother here and her telling people what had happened to her, and people not really either believing, or because it sounds so extreme, or thinking that she's over embellishing and being a drama queen. So if any woman in here or man has been accused of that when things are that you're saying are actually true, raise your hand. Like, some fucked up shit has happened and no one believes you because they can't believe that person would do that. Because that person has everyone in their pocket or fooled or has charmed the pants off of them.
sometimes I wonder if she's told me everything. She's told me a lot. But during her pregnancy with my brother,
Angela,
Cowboy, Cowboy tried to force abortions. And I don't mean hey, why don't
Brenda.
you go get an abortion? I mean, having sex with her, anal sex, and then immediately vaginal sex to give her infections. So that the complications might cause a miscarriage due to the infection.
This is one of those things that I was terrified to talk about, because this is some sick, sick stuff. He was having anal sex with her and then immediately vaginal sex during her pregnancy, all throughout her pregnancy, with my brother Travis, and in order to cause or induce a miscarriage. This would go on abusively, physically abusive, and this is physical and sexual abuse that I'm talking about. Yeah, evil is a good way to put it. Yeah, I mean, if you were going to say something was evil, that's pretty fucking evil.
At one point, he wanted to meet my biological father and pretended to be okay with it, as if she could have the child and the child could know its father.
So, like a lot of psychos, he would flip flop on her and be like, "Well, you know what? I'm okay with this now, and I'd like to meet the father." And as I continue to explain,
But when my mother arranged for this meeting and my biological father walked into the room, my Cowboy ran and kicked him in the nuts and then busted the door down, grabbing my mother and threw her and got her in the car. And as they were on their way home, at this point she was well into her third trimester. He punched her in the stomach. There was an 18-wheeler that saw from the cab and pulled over and blocked the road as he saw that this man punched a pregnant woman. My mother has told me this a couple of times. She wanted to get out of the car and leave and just never come back. But she felt that if she moved or did anything sudden, she would most certainly lose the baby, because Cowboy is a pretty strong dude, even now. He's got big, big ham fists.
so that story, yeah, my mom, probably out of fear, set this meeting up, and my father and Travis's father agreed to meet Ira. Um, I've learned more about my father after his death, and in retrospect and looking back, being sort of a confused and drug-addled and abused kid, that my dad and me and Travis's dad was way ahead of his time. Like he saw no reason why he couldn't have well, I mean, sure, he probably saw a reason, because there was an affair involved, and that's always that's never good. But to involve the child in, or to deny the child access, in other words, fair access fair access, fair child access, and that's probably what he wanted to talk about. They met at my biological father's and my grandfather's house, and the story goes is that Ira walked in. Dwayne was coming down the hall, and Ira ran and kicked him in the nuts in front of my grandparents, and grabbed Mom by the hair and dragged her to her car, put her in the car, and they lived a block from one of the main roads. When he pulled onto the main road, he had punched her in the stomach. This was her third trimester. She was 9 months pregnant. And an 18-wheeler saw, because when you're up high, you can see into cars. And he pulled in front of Ira. Now, to this day, my mother, when, she'll bring it up sometimes. She'll be like, I always wondered what he said to that driver to make him turn around and leave. And we'll probably never know. I'm not sure if he was armed at the time. Ira usually is armed all the time. So maybe he walked around. The details in that traumatic thing for my mother are probably very hard to recollect, because, as she said, she wanted her instinct was to get out of the situation, but her body's instinct was, don't fucking move. Just received major trauma, and who knows where he hit the baby. Bye, Tish. You're not missing anything. You've seen all this before. And of course, what witness? He threatened him, but my mom wants to know what he said is the thing. And also, she didn't want to leave because she was afraid if she moved. The way she described it, she was like, if I moved like even an inch, like I was endangering the child. So, and I can say from personal experience that especially at the age he was at that time, because even 10 years later, or was it 14 years later, when I would fight him, Jesus Christ, man, that guy can hit. Like, he's got huge fists. He's got a bunch of busted, broken knuckles that are just like, basically kind of like a built-in brass knuckle, and from punching stuff all the time. So it's just kind of flat and hard and calloused, and it really hurts to get socked by it. Gut punches. That's probably part of the reason I still have stomach problems.
Now, I'm not talking about this to discredit the man. But I'm also not going to make excuses for him anymore. And I wish that he would get help. Now, my mother had Travis. Cowboy was threatening to kill the baby, making threats, and some of his own family was concerned about that. My mother had talked to her doctor because she was afraid for Travis's well-being, and she had arranged through her doctor an adoption.
Now, from what I understand, this is 1978, 1979. Things were a little different here in Louisiana. We're always 20, 30 years behind on things. And also one of the most corrupt states in the country. So This is not really standard, right? You go to a doctor, your primary doctor, and talk about an abortion. Well, maybe in this situation, yes.
And the family that adopted him was not able to have children at that time. It's funny how that works, you know, after they adopted, it was like, and they had a child, and I guess certain things biologically happened. It was a miracle, really. After they got Travis, they were able to have 2 more sons.
So Travis was a adopted at birth thing, and I learned later that, you know, there was a lot of strings that had to get pulled, and it was, you know, not an official like thing. It was a very quick, let's get this baby somewhere where they want him. It involved the district attorney of well, he wasn't the district attorney then. I believe he was a state representative by the name of John DeRozier involved, and Noon Cormier is Travis's adoptive grandfather, and it was his daughter Anna McGee, Travis's mother, and Ed McGee, Travis's adoptive father, that received Travis through basically mutual family connections.
Now, after Travis was born, her mother had the option to get Travis back if she changed her mind, and the state would send letters, paperwork, and Cowboy would destroy these letters.
So, this is something that my mom has brought up multiple times over the years. That, you know, this was some of the first information that she gave me. You know, Ira would, you know, they'd meet at Dairy Queen. I don't know why that um, detail sticks out to her, but when they would meet at Dairy Queen, he would have a piece of paper or a piece of mail, and he'd just walk in and throw it immediately in the trash. And those were her papers to request or query either seeing the child or within 6 months getting the child back.
Now, after that ordeal, horrific pregnancy and abuse, my mother moved in with her folks, and she and Cowboy got separated.
I'll just address this real quick. Amy Jean, so he knew the baby had been adopted. Yes, but not until after, because he was threatening to go to the hospital, and his family were doing everything they could to stall him and keep him away from the hospital where Travis was being delivered. And so, like I said, it was an adopted at birth kind of a situation, and it was probably a very delicate one. Travis's adopted mother, um, you can say no wrong about John DeRozier to her, because I believe that, you know, they understood what was going on and how it was a danger, and he made a lot of things. Corruption is not always, or I won't say corruption, but the ability to override and supersede certain bureaucratic things is not always a bad thing. In this case, that's probably what happened, and that's what allowed Travis to be adopted at birth and gotten the fuck away from these people. But Ira did not know prior, so far as I knew. He probably had suspected that she might give him up for adoption, but that was my mother's choice to make, and it was between her and God, in her words, and her consultation with her doctor.
During that time, she got pregnant for me. And her little sister, Juanita, my aunt, and my grandparents, they were all living together. And thank God.
So immediately after all of that trauma, uh, my mother probably didn't feel all that intimate with Ira anymore. So she and my father made another baby, and it was me. And someone said, "Thank God he got out." Yes, thank God he got out. A few years ago, Travis said something to the effect of like, I feel bad that that you had to live through all that, because he had a home where people wanted him. So I'm not saying my mother didn't want me. That's not true at all. But there's some things that throughout this cowboy shit you find it's like, did he really accept me as his son? Um, I don't know.
For my aunt, my mother really needed somebody.
Oh yeah, and when she was pregnant for me, she moved in with her family to avoid all of the stuff that she experienced in the first pregnancy with Travis. Makes sense. Compro.
To be compassionate and loving towards her and her child that she was carrying. My biological father was told that Travis died during childbirth. And Travis's adopted parents received very disturbing phone calls. This is back in the 80s, no cell phones, no caller ID. They get these phone calls of a woman who's not my mother pleading that she wanted her baby back, screaming, "I want my baby back. Give me my baby back." It's terrifying, I'm sure. It was actually, it shook her up so much, my brother's mother.
She my mama too. I was blessed with four mothers and three fathers. I got one father left, and I got two mothers left.
That at a certain point she talked to her husband about moving out of the country, because no matter where they were, somehow this person would get their phone number, call and harass them. It was very distressing.
Now, we were able to figure out, this was shortly after I had found out this information from Travis's mother when I went up to Jackson in 2017, shortly after the Aftermath rap thing, and after I just, I had torn my Achilles. I had cancer. I still needed medical attention. And when I was staying, I ran out of crypto. I had lost my house. I lost my car. I'd lost pretty much everything. I was staying with Ira and my stepmom, Cowboy and my stepmom, and he started to get aggressive with me. And I just called my brother Mark and said, "Hey, can you bring me to Jackson?" And he did, and he came over that morning and he brought me to Jackson because things were about to get real bad real quick. And so when I went to Jackson and I was hanging out with Anna, she told me about these phone calls she was getting after the adoption for years. And it was a woman claiming to be Alice Sawyer, my mother, and threatening her and saying that she was going to find her and take that baby and run off with her or run off with the baby, and she'd never see her son again because it ain't her son, it's my son. And we found out that it was a cowboy using my biological father's second wife, Helen, uh, to do this. And the way that she got the information of where these people lived was her husband was an attorney who was in the closet, a gay man, working in Lake Charles in the 1980s. And she blackmailed him. Ira prompted her to blackmail him for information about the whereabouts of Anna and Edward McGee. And they would get records that otherwise they'd have to pay to get. Um, and this went on for years, and they actually moved. Yes, for years. They moved several times. Anna considered moving out of the country, as I said. It goes on, people.
And I was born about 18 months after Travis was. And I don't really know the circumstances as to how Cowboy convinced my mother to not divorce him. But I do know that my mother brought me to him to make a point when I was a baby. And she brought me to him and said, look at this child, how could you want to hurt this baby? And from there, I really don't know or understand how things progressed.
So the reason, before everyone jumps on my mom's case about why the fuck would you bring that baby over to Ira, she had to get a job. Right, she was married at 18. She lived a very privileged life. She was treated very well by her stepfather. Because my grandmother, my Mama Parity, we call them Mamas here, it's grandmother. So my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, my maternal grandmother, insisted that her step-husband not treat Alice any different than the rest of the kids. Well, she was a funny woman. What that really meant was spoiler. So, between her father and her stepfather, she was kind of the golden child. She was the firstborn, and she was the oldest of six. And she had me. She got a job trying to live without Ira, without Cowboy. And she felt safe and comfortable knowing that she had three brothers and two sisters and two parents and an extended family that if anything happened to me, they would know exactly where to go. And she did not have anyone to watch me this particular day that she was going to work. She just had no other option, and of course, my aunt was watching me a lot. Probably my other aunt, my uncle, the family was watching over me. And at a certain point, like they're like, we gotta work too. So, she brought me over to Ira, and it was probably not her. I know it couldn't have been her first choice, but when she brought me over there, she made a point to him. She said, "Look at this child, and I want you to think about." She said, "I need you to watch this kid. I need somebody to watch this baby. But before I let you watch this child, I want you to look at this child and think about what you did to an innocent child like you did before." And he apparently cried and put on a show and was like, this, but what this was, as everybody knows, is a way to get her back into his life. So he said, absolutely, yeah, no, I'll take care of him. Don't worry about it. After he put on this display, which I'm not saying is 100% disingenuous. I think, you know, I think that that emotions run raw and real, and even if someone doesn't actually act the way that they feel, they're still feeling valid emotions. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. Continuing on.
Their relationship until later, but the abuse wasn't just with my mother or me. My brother Mark was beaten with books because he wasn't understanding his schoolwork. And he would beat my brother with books, hit him in the head, and call him idiot and stupid. And to this day, my mother hates that word, stupid. She doesn't like it when you call people stupid. I remember when my brother Mark left home, he was 17. He had gotten someone pregnant. And Mark, my brother Mark, I remember it very well. He didn't want to leave me, but he couldn't stay. My brother Maynard had already left, so it was just me and my mom and Cowboy. After Mark left, I remember waking up at night, hearing my mother and Cowboy screaming at each other. And I would pray to God that they could just get along and not fight.
Now, up to this point, I knew that there was something different because I look at the picture on the wall and I see two blonde hair, blue eyed dudes, and then I see me, and I've got a little bit. At that time, I played outside a little more, and I was, darker complexion, had a little melanin, and I just looked at the picture. I'm like, one of these things is not like the other. And yeah, I mean, it was it never was revealed to me. But what they were arguing about was whether or not I should be able to meet my father.
And one night, about midnight, my mother woke me up while Cowboy was at work and told me that we were leaving. I was 8 years old. And I didn't know where we were going until we got in the car. And I was very upset. I didn't understand why. I knew that they were arguing. I knew things weren't right, but I didn't know. As a child, I didn't know. My mother asked me what she should do. Driving on Interstate 10, I'm in the back of the car. She's crying, I'm crying. I don't know what to tell her. I told her, Mom, just do what makes you happy. As a child, I just wanted everyone to be happy. We went to my biological father's parents' house. My mama and papa. I didn't know they were really my mama and papa. I was told that I called them that out of respect. And
So, what I'm saying here is that throughout my childhood, my mother would sneak me over to my biological grandparents' house to visit with them, and also, unbeknownst to me, see my father, which I didn't know was my father. And so I was familiar with him, but I didn't know who he was. We also went and visited him at his house at one point, and I remember he had a goldfish, and I was like obsessed with that. To me, he was just one of my mom's friends. Didn't know. And I think I said that we got up in the middle of the night, and shortly after Mark left, and went to my biological grandparents' house, and that's where we're at.
when I woke up the next morning, there was a man there that I had met a couple times before, who was always really nice to me. His name was Mr. Dwayne. And they took me in the living room, and my mother and Mr. Dwayne took me in the living room. And then I heard people coming in the house, and I heard voices talking, but didn't know who they were, and I was so shook up. And my mother said, I want you to meet your father. And I'm so confused. I'm like, we just left Dad, you know. Dad's not here.
So this is the moment of like head fuck moment. So my mother's like, we get up in the middle of the night. What I remember the most about that night was I was able to carry an old CRT TV to the car. I didn't want to leave without my damn TV and watch cartoons. I think it was a Friday and the next one was Saturday. I don't know. But I wanted the TV, and I was so proud that I carried it all the way out and down the steps and put it and loaded it in the car by myself. And So the next morning we wake up at the LaFleur residence, and uh, it's like there's this weird vibe, and I wake up, and all the attention is on me. And when you're a kid, I mean, you can tell, like, when the parents are paying attention to you or not. And so I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, well, just give it a minute. We're waiting on somebody. My mom brings me into the living room. My papa comes in and gives me a hug and kisses me and is just talking to me and just happy to see me. My mama can't really walk. She had real bad problems with her feet. But so my mother brought me in this living room, very nice. And my grandfather was a building contractor, and this was one of the houses that he built. So it was a nice little house, 70s vibe. And I have my breakfast. I go in the living room, and I'm told to wait. And me and mom were just, she's like, wait. And Mr. Dwayne, as I say,
And Dwayne was looking at me.
he came into the room, and he was looking at me.
And he was so happy to see his son.
So as a father now, and also being, to some degree alienated from my kids because of what's the word, lack of willingness to communicate at all, and in violation of the judge's orders and the orders and the judgments. I do get to see my kids through my mother. So I can see them whenever I want. I just got to go to my mom's house. It's not like 50-50 where it's back and forth. I've seen my kids more than my dad saw me or Travis in his entire 63-year life. And so, looking at this now, thinking about it now, I'm glad he got this moment, even though it was a bit traumatizing for me, because he had only seen me about 4 times up to this point.
As a father now, I have a different perspective. And I know what it's like to be apart from the children. And I can only imagine the happiness and the hurt that he had been feeling for so long. I'm sure that was a great day for him. It was a very weird day for me. Because after I was introduced to my father, my half-brother and my half-sister came in and he introduced me to them. And then my mama and papa came in and this is your family. Now Stella is almost 7. And when I think about some of the things that I experienced, around her age, I honestly, I don't know if I could contain my anger. For things like that to happen to my daughter or my son. I don't know if I could contain it. And my brother Maynard was incredibly incensed and completely there was a period of time where it seems like he hated my mother for doing what she did.
Now, to defend my brother Maynard here, he left before everyone else, and he never was a subject of the abuse directly, the physical abuse for sure. Now, the mental abuse, jury's out on that. I feel like now that he understands that it's real, because for many years he just didn't believe, like many other people in our family, could not believe what my mother, my brother Mark, myself, and others in the family had said about Ira. It's like, oh, that's too extreme. There's no way that happened. Like, there's no way someone like that is in our family, basically. Um, and as of recently, Maynard has been told by sources that he trusts, and based on things that he has recently seen, as Ira has gotten older and gives even less fucks. His behavior at Christmas in 2020 was so extreme that my brother Maynard had to consider, like, wow, to him it was like, well, this must be the dementia and the Alzheimer's and the stroke and all this stuff. And myself, Mark, and my mother were like, no, man, this is like normal. Like, he does have dementia stuff and he regresses, but like, this has been what you just saw, which what he saw was my brother Mark was later than Ira would have liked, later than Cowboy would have liked. And when Mark showed up, he showed up by himself because Ira has been known to insult Mark's wife and children and grandchildren in very disgusting ways in front of everybody. So why would he bring his kids? So he shows up to Christmas, and Ira walks out and throws a bunch of money at him. He says, there's your fucking money, now go away. And then he goes back into the middle bedroom to hissy fit. All right, so Maynard did not see that's the first thing he saw. He never believed the things that we told him before, but when he saw that, it started to make more sense. And I'm glad, because, like, even though that's painful, it's part of healing, right? No wound. If you don't, wounds are wounds. They got to heal, and it hurts for them to heal. That's what I'm trying to say. And I was trying to defend my brother there because I don't want to disparage anybody. I love my brother.
And from that point, Cowboy was determined to get custody of me. Now, this is a non-biological parent. And there's a lot that I'm leaving out because there's just so much, but like I said, the phone calls, and there's other things too that occurred in these spans of time where he was actively trying to sabotage and play mind games with Dwayne, my biological father. And he's good at that. He's very good at fucking with people's heads. He's also very good at being intimidating and threatening. And so my mother married Dwayne. They got married. And I remember being a little upset because I wasn't at the, I don't think I was at the wedding.
No, I wasn't at the wedding because it was at a VFW and there had to be alcohol and it was a cheap, free, almost free place because my dad was a veteran, Army SP5. I didn't get to go to the wedding, so I was like kind of bummed about that. Like my mom and my real dad getting married, I was like, why can't I be there?
Maybe I was. I don't know.
And that's also still true.
But the divorce was filed and custody was every other weekend with Cowboy. And there was this massive conflict, and I was kind of in the middle of it. The court system didn't want me involved because I was a minor. And I wasn't able to make, a decision one way or the other of who I wanted to live with. Plus, filing for full custody of a non-biological child was in the early 90s in Louisiana. As much as I feel like the court system here is biased towards the mother, it was even more so then.
So that's really actually Shanna Law Nerd. I don't know where you practice or if you practice or if you know anything about domestic stuff in the southern states, but in Louisiana, basically up until the late 90s, like the courts, like almost always gave, just by default, gave custody to the mother. And if you wanted custody as a father, you would have to hire an attorney and fight for it just to get the 50-50.
So it was a very...
So Ira had done that. And he's listed as my father on the birth certificate, and so legally he can do that. So he's essentially beginning to use me as, a bait to get mom back.
Not only was it a expensive thing for Cowboy to do, it was also a very, unlikely possibility that he would actually win custody.
So yeah, even though he had the birth certificate, there was I don't remember any DNA testing or any even bringing that up. In fact, they kept me out of the case as much as possible once it started. But Ira had hired a very connected attorney who was also a war veteran, who was also in a fraternity with Ira. And that fraternity, of course, they've all gone on into the society and are embedded, and so there's always favors for favors. And I have no proof, but I just know how that shit works in the hometown. And at one point, I did a little political campaign, social media campaign for a guy running for office, and I saw it. I saw what the hell's going on.
But as I said, he's very good at manipulating situations, and he had private investigators watching everything we did.
So this was fun. This was early training for later Scientology loud, noisy investigation tactics. My mom and I were living with my Uncle Jeff until we could move in with Dwayne, and we were being followed constantly, either by PIs or by Helen, the woman that used to call and harass Travis's mother. Followed almost 24/7. It was ridiculous and silly and frivolous, but scary.
Watching everything that Dwayne did. Dwayne, from the other video, I told you he was a E5 in the Army, retired. He also was retired from, well, in the process of retiring from Gulf States Energy, but he had been hit by an 18-wheeler. Very bad wreck. And was prescribed all kind of medications. And on top of that, he drank a lot. Now, I hated that, because he would take the medication and drink on top of it, and he was a really smart, intelligent, funny guy. Loved music.
This was one of the things after the initial shock of like, oh my god, family swap. Like my dad was fucking cool. Like he was an actor. I mean, that's not what he did for a living, but you know, he really enjoyed acting. He enjoyed film, like good film, like not just like he was into nuance, niche. He was into visionary directors and writers, and he was into philosophy, and he was into oh hell, he went to Woodstock. He drove all the way to Woodstock. How cool is that for the festival? He didn't get in. He got stuck on the highway, and there's a picture somewhere of a naked woman on his car, just chilling, baking in the sun. Hippie chick on his way to Woodstock. I do have a picture of him on his way, but what a trip, you know. Like he was everything Ira wasn't. You know, he was he worked for a living, but he wasn't a corporate shill. You know, he spent his time enriching his life and trying to enrich others' experience. He took my half brother and half sister on trips around the world, and you know, they still have amazing. They're like, God, you know, that was a really awesome thing that Dad did. You know, there were a lot of things that he did that they didn't. You know, they grew up with him. It's a different dynamic, and you know, Dwayne had a tendency to overstate his correctness a lot, and that got on people's nerves. It was one of the complaints from a lot of the family. But that's a lot of the flurs I've found. Okay, let's keep going. We're almost through this. I mean, but we're here for it.
Very encouraging to me, you know. Very loving. Very big heart. But he was also very troubled, you know. And as I said, now with the perspective of being a father, I can't imagine. I can only assume that a lot of his behaviors and addictions were to.
Okay, that's where it leaves off. Okay, I knew we were getting close. So we're getting yeah, we're talking about uh, Dwayne and his addictions, and in the I think in the next one it gets into how Ira started to use me to get at Mom and discredit my dad and win this custody case where he is the abuser, and he is able to successfully defraud my biological father, and these records are sealed. There's two cases in the state of Louisiana at that time. There's been more probably since, but At that time, this was the second case where a non-biological father got custody uh, of a child that wasn't theirs, just simply based on the fact that the child was in danger. So you think about it like that. Like, this abusive person is saying, this child is in danger. They're better off with me, and having to fight it. And the abuser has, like, not just money, but influence, connections, um, and is not afraid to intimidate people and use fear. Who is put in constant pressure with private investigators and my father's ex-wife, second wife, Helen, who was the woman who would call and harass Travis's mother, threatening to take the baby back. Um, and that's where we leave off. That's where we leave off today. So need some music, y'all. We'll find some music. I mean, unless you guys are done, I could play a song and that'll play us out, and then I'll play the intro thingy, or the outro. There we go. Music. What should we play? Okay. Oh, Shanna, you're welcome. Totally. Amy, yeah, the stress, these days, I just don't know how my mother, if it's been like this actually for years, where, when she moved back in later in the story, she had sort of made her peace with everything that was, I say made her peace. She learned to ignore and block, right? She learned to block so good that she could just sort of like, as long as she was around, as long as she could keep an eye on her kids, I guess really is what it amounts to. Then, Brenda's my friend's song. Not sure which one. I got a lot of friends that got a lot of songs, but here's one that I could play by. It's a Woods Brothers cover called "Pay Attention," and it's a beautiful song. Let's see. I should probably open it in VLC so that y'all can hear it. Open with VLC.
Please pay attention to me. The last words I heard falling into my sleep. Got children to tend to, worry and mind. It's too much to do, not enough time. Hate to sound needy, selfish and greedy. Please pay attention to me. It's the first words I heard falling out of my dream. Got something to tell you when the sun has gone down. And if you don't listen, talk much too loud. Hate to sound needy, selfish and greedy. Please pay attention to me. Won't you look my way? I'm waving my arms and I'm calling your name. There's too much to mention. I grabbed your attention. Please pay attention to me. I should cut myself free. Why the hell should I care if you listen to me? There's children to tend to, no worrying about. There's too much to do, not enough time. I hate to sound needy, selfish and greedy. I hate to keep asking, begging and pleading. I'm down on my knees under your window screaming, please pay attention to me. Please pay attention to me. Oh, now please pay attention to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're-
For a second, I thought it was the.
All right. Well, until next time, guys. Thanks for spending some time with me. I appreciate it. I hope that it's been helpful, or something helpful perspective. Where's my? There we go. Oop. And go.